Rangers Croc overruns initial 6-week prognosis as fears rise over long-term injury. James Tavernier bang average for Rangers amid amazement captive remains. Philipe Clement told G's piece by pundit after Rangers press conference penalty demonstration. Rangers return mistake by Giannis Haji as Scottish Premiership exit talks emerge. Strange coming from me. Rangers hero praises Premiership rivals as incredible run continues. If you like daily content about Rangers updates, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Let's get to the news. Philipe Clement promised to sort out the injury crisis at Rangers when he took charge, but even he admitted it would take more than waving a magic stick to solve the problems. The injury list has been brutal for the squad over the past 3 seasons, and right now, over £17 million worth of talent is sidelined. One key player who was expected back for the recent win over Hibernian is still missing, Rıdvan Yılmaz. The Turkish left-back, who signed for £5 million from Besiktas, has had a tough time ever since he arrived in Glasgow. From the start, injuries have plagued his Rangers career, striking just as he's found some form. Yılmaz was stretchered off in the Champions League defeat to Dynamo Kyiv at Hampton, and on August 16th, Clement said he'd be out for around 4 to 6 weeks. That meant he was expected to return for the match against Hibs, but the left-back wasn't even on the bench, leaving fans worried that this could be a longer-term issue. No doubt Clement will face questions about Yılmaz's status before Rangers' Europa League clash with Lyon this week. Thankfully, Rangers are well-stocked at left-back. Brazilian defender Jeft has looked strong in recent games, and Nerecio Kusanwirjo, on loan from Feyenoord, impressed when stepping in during the 2-0 win over Malmo. Academy prospect Robbie Fraser is also floating around the first team, so there are options while Yılmaz remains out. As for Yılmaz, he's still part of Rangers' Europa League squad, a positive sign. However, Welsh winger Rabbi Matondo and Brazilian striker Danilo were left out, with both expected back mid-October for the Kilmarnock game at Rugby Park. Let's hope Rıdvan Yılmaz can finally get a clean bill of health and show what he can really do in a Rangers shirt. James Tavernier's form this season has been labeled as bang average by Derek Ferguson, with questions raised about the Rangers captain's performances both as a defender and a leader. Tavernier was subject to transfer interest from Trabzonspor and a potential reunion with Steven Gerrard in Saudi Arabia during the summer. But despite the speculation, he remained at Rangers. Kevin Thompson has even suggested that Tavernier might not want the responsibility of captaincy anymore, due to the pressure it brings, especially with his recent dip in form. It's a sharp contrast from his previous seasons, where his attacking contributions were key, and Ferguson expressed surprise that the 32-year-old didn't leave the club, particularly after vice-captain Connor Goldson's departure to Aris Limassol. Ferguson reckons the transfer talk may have unsettled the right-back, impacting his performances. He acknowledges that while Tavernier has continued to give his all, his current levels are far below what he's produced in the past few years. Tavernier's defensive flaws have become more apparent, especially now that his offensive output has diminished significantly. Despite this, Philipe Clement has continued to rely on Tavernier, keeping him in the starting lineup even though there are potential replacements. Dujon Sterling seems to have slipped down the pecking order, while Nerecio Kusanwirjo, a recent loan signing, has made a promising start and could step in if needed. There's no doubting Tavernier's commitment, but Ferguson suggests that a break might actually benefit him, giving him the chance to regroup and return stronger. Philipe Clement's reaction to a controversial penalty decision against John Souttar during Rangers' 1-0 win over Hibs has caused a bit of a stir. The Rangers manager, frustrated by the handball call, even stood up during his post-match press conference to demonstrate why Souttar's natural movement couldn't have avoided the ball hitting his arm. Clement seemed baffled, questioning what more the defender could have done. The penalty, awarded by referee Nick Walsh, was saved by Jack Butland, keeping Rangers ahead thanks to a goal from Tom Lawrence. Despite this, Clement's demonstration left some unconvinced, including former Hibs player Tam McManus, who bluntly told Clement to G's peace over his complaints. McManus wasn't buying the argument, saying, "On what planet is that not a penalty for Hibs?" He also lamented Hibs' lack of quality in the final third, believing the penalty miss was the pivotal moment of the game. Clement, however, stood by his view that the penalty should never have been awarded, explaining, "John is trying to block the ball, but you can't lift your leg without using your arms for balance. From a meter away, it hits his arm. What can a player do in that situation? It's biodynamics." While the debate rages on, Rangers secured the victory and will be looking ahead to their next challenges. But it's clear the penalty decision will remain a talking point. Right then, it seems Giannis Haji might have made a bit of a misstep in his quest to return to the Rangers' first team under Philipe Clement, as he's still stuck on the outside looking in. The Romanian hasn't featured under Clement and has been left playing for the B team, which, let's be honest, isn't exactly where a player of his caliber wants to be. Hagi reportedly turned down a move to Rapid Bucharest before the transfer window shut, which probably wasn't the best decision in hindsight. It seems his camp thought they could push for another shot in the Rangers' first team by sticking around Ibrox, but the strategy hasn't paid off. A clause in his contract sitting on 99 Rangers appearances means playing him could trigger a wage rise and possibly another payment to his former club, Genk, which clearly isn't helping matters. Clement, to his credit, has been pretty straightforward, stating that a return for Hagi isn't on the cards, but also hinting it's not entirely up to him. What's more, there were talks about a loan move to another Scottish Premiership club, which might have given Hagi the chance to prove his worth in the same league as Rangers. However, he reportedly wasn't keen on another temporary stint, possibly scarred by his loan to Alaves last season, where he felt he didn't get as much game time as he deserved. But surely, fewer opportunities are better than no opportunities. Playing in the same division might have forced Rangers to take notice, especially if he performed well. Meanwhile, rejecting the move to Rapid Bucharest has left him in a bit of limbo. Whatever he does for the B team, even if he impresses, isn't going to count for much at the top level. Had he taken a loan elsewhere in Scotland, he might have been able to remind the Rangers hierarchy that he's worth the investment, even with the financial implications. Tom Lawrence may have scored a cracker to seal a 1-0 win over Hibs recently, but it's not like he's made himself undroppable. Still, Hagi is evidently not being considered, and with the club splashing out £3.4 million on Nedim Badrami on deadline day, it seems they've made up their minds for now. Derek Ferguson has called for some common sense, get round the table, renegotiate those tricky contract terms, and sort the whole mess out. Even Hagi himself hinted at being open to discussions, but so far nothing's come of it. Had he accepted that loan within the league, it could have been the perfect audition. Now he'll be waiting until at least January for another chance to change the narrative. Right, this is a bit of a rare moment, but Kris Boyd is actually heaping praise on Aberdeen after their blistering start to the season under new gaffer Jimmy Thalen. Now you might find it strange hearing Boyd sing the praises of anyone but Rangers. But even he had to admit, there's a lot to like about Aberdeen right now. The Dons have been absolutely flying, notching up their 12th straight win with a scrappy 2-1 victory over Dundee. This result sees them match a record that's been untouched for 24 years, Martin O'Neill's blistering start with Celtic. Goals from Kevin Nisbet and Topi Keskinen put Aberdeen in control early on, but Simon Murray's penalty just before the break had the Dons on the ropes for a bit. Still, they dug in, showed a bit of grit, and held on to maintain their perfect start. Boyd couldn't help but point out how well Aberdeen have recruited, with Graeme Shinnie getting a special mention. He sets the tempo in the middle of the pitch, Boyd said, while admitting it's a good habit for teams to win even when they're not playing at their best, something we usually say about Rangers and Celtic. Speaking of Celtic, they smashed a rudderless St Johnstone's 6-0 to stay joint top of the Premiership, while Rangers, although a bit sluggish in the first half, managed a gritty 1-0 win over Hibs to keep the momentum going ahead of their Europa League clash with Lyon. Leave your opinion in the comments and drop a like on the video to support the channel, alright? We are the people.